Afternoon. This is Song Ki Moon at OSEHRA, beautiful downtown Arlington, Virginia. I guess it's about 100 degrees here. Today, I'm really pleased to introduce a couple of, a couple of engineers who has done some remarkable work on behalf of the community. I'm talking about this ViViaN visualization tool. The way that project came about has to do with our chairman of the board, General Peak, about 2 years ago, 3 years ago, saying, you know, you guys need to come up with better ways of explaining VistA. This onion diagram is very unsatisfactory. So we looked into this problem. Then we engaged Mike Henderson, and Mike Henderson worked with Chris Edwards, and we came up with some crude model of this visualization tool, and we showed it to community members at one of the World VistA meetings in Sacramento. And we were really given a standing ovation, so we were very encouraged with the community response. Since then, as you will see today, the ViViaN has become much more sophisticated and powerful, and above all, many of the VistA developers use this code to help their work, and also I'm told this visualization tool is used quite a bit in educational programs. So today I'm very pleased to introduce two principals of this ViViaN development effort. Joe Snyder is coming to us from Albany, New York. In August, Albany is known as Albany Gray. I hope it's better than Albany Gray there today. Then we have a second participant, Jason Lee. He's coming to us from somewhere in Ohio. You'll have to tell us where in Ohio you're coming from. So with that introduction, I'd like to turn the presentation over to Joe and Jason.
Thank you very much, Dr. Moon, for that wonderful introduction. We're happy to be here today. I guess I can speak for Jason right now. He'll be able to tell you later if he's happy to be here or not. But we have a hopefully fairly straightforward presentation for you today. We're calling it ViViaN An Update, or I called it ViViaN An Update. And what we're going to talk about is we're going to do exactly what Dr. Moon said. We had this tool. We've had it for a couple of years now. And what we have been doing over the past couple of years is using an agile methodology to generate updates to this particular tool. We've done a series of updates, some that have just been updating what we currently have already used, but we've also introduced a fair amount of new functionality, all of which we're going to try to get into today. So the first thing that we have here is kind of our shameless self-promotion. The ViViaN tool is actually built out of the Visualization Open Source Projects Group. We do have bi-weekly meetings at 1 p.m. on Thursday afternoon, and conveniently enough, this coming Thursday, we do have a meeting. And what's especially nice about this coming Thursday is that it's a sprint planning meeting. What we will be doing is we'll be reviewing the backlog of issues that we have for ViViaN, any potential updates, and actually generating work for, in our case, 2 meetings, which is the next month. So we hope that you'll join us on Thursday. If you head to the work group page down here at the bottom, you'll be able to see the call-in information. The other 2 links we have here are what we're going to talk about, one of which we're going to talk about today, one of which is just nice to have in the back. The very most important thing that we have here is a public instance of ViViaN. This link here will take you to the instance of ViViaN that we're going to demonstrate today. It's always available, assuming that that machine stays up, and we've done a nice job of that over the past couple of years. So anytime you want to visit this, feel free. We will make it available. We will love to take suggestions from you, just playing with it yourself and seeing what you would like to see and what you would like to see changed. The other thing that we have here is a link to the ViViaN repository. This will take you to the GitHub page where we store the code for ViViaN. This includes the PHP pages and all of our back-end JavaScript using the D3 library, which is what we actually use to generate these interactive visualizations. So all of that is available from here. We hope you'll join us, as we said, this coming Thursday to help plan out our next sprint and our next set of work. But for today, we have an agenda here. We're going to talk about a couple of different things. We've broken it up really into two sections. We're going to talk about things that you've already seen, small updates to those. We're looking specifically for package searching and a couple of other things all in the main pages that we've talked about already. The second half of our presentation will be dealing with strictly new features. These are new visualizations or new larger sets of information which are available. And finally, some links that we have to external visualizations. So this isn't just dealing with our one public VistA instance, but dealing with some things that go around it, specifically looking at VistA and how we visualize VistA, and then a set of two visualizations that the VA has developed, which nicely dovetail with the work that we are trying to do. So without further ado, we're going to leave PowerPoint behind, and we are going to switch over to our public VistA instance, a public ViViaN instance, I should say. And I'm on the wrong page. It's a great start. So here we are. As you can see from the URL, hopefully everyone can see this. We are visiting the code.osehra.org/ViViaN. And this is the main page. For those of you who have been around ViViaN enough or in the past, this will look familiar. You'll see a couple of new things here. We do have some set legends now above each of the different displays. But this main page, this index page, is a functional grouping of packages. It's a tree diagram that allows you to click, open, and close these different triangle nodes to eventually show a package. So we start off with VistA. We group them by provider, services, or infrastructure, and then even to more specific of laboratory or patient care. But eventually, all of it winds down to one of the 120-odd-ish packages that we have. If you were to click on this, you would get a nice modal window, which gives you more information about the automated lab instruments in this particular case for dependencies, information, and a description, all of which, actually the description is fairly new. We pulled this directly from the VA now instead of just putting in the package name again. But the one big update that we had for this page was this upper corner here. We now have the ability to search for a package. So if you wanted something that was inside one of these other four capabilities, you would have to open it up, find your way down to it, and hopefully knew what functional grouping it was in. This upper box here now is an autocomplete for all of the packages that we have. So if you wanted to look, say, for barcode medication administration, since I know it's right there, we can start typing into this box, barcode medication administration, and it will autocomplete for you. It gives you suggestions that you can choose from. And when you hit enter, the tree will rearrange itself. It will make sure that it can highlight a path from VistA through provider services into pharmacy and to your desired package. And we can do that for ones that haven't been opened yet. So if we were to, say, find beneficiary travel from where we started. So we'll reset the tree, and now we can't see beneficiary travel. We were to search for it again. The tree rearranges, and it highlights our path directly to that package. So now you don't have to know what do these potentially arbitrary functional groups mean. You can just put in the package that you want to see. It'll bring it there, and it'll make sure that you know where you can find it. And again, this all works. If you click on it, you can open up the information and so on and so forth. But the one of our big updates for this was that package searching capability, the highlighting capability. And that's really all we have for that first page. It's fairly static. We like it. We do have some new information on here. If you were to potentially find some of these newer packages, such as Enterprise Health Management Platform, you can search for that, and you can see that we've made it available as part of the infrastructure and operability subcategory. And if you were to click on that, you can see our dependency information. You see interfaces or description if it's available for it. So the information that we have for these packages is being kept up to date as best we can. You'll see that the common theme throughout it, we've had some of these more recent packages be made available to the community and kind of make that information as best we can available. One of the other light ones that we've updated without too much of an interference or fuss is the business function framework. So that's this BFF demo. There's a nice little paragraph here for you to read about what the business function framework is. But what it boils down to is it's another tree diagram. There is no searching for this because we haven't done that yet. But what we have done is, if you were to see a past version of this, we've updated the version. We've gone from BSS version 2.7 to version 2.10. So this is all around. Again, you will see here you can click on an item to bring a modal window up, and that will give you some description and even commentary on certain ones to give you a little bit more information about what that is attempting to describe. Continuing on to our last particular bit of existing pages we have the VistA package dependency. So originally this was one page with a switch to bring you back and forth between a chord diagram, a circular diagram, and a set of bar charts. Now actually we have two separate pages for it, just to make things a little bit easier, both of which will still provide you that same information. If you click on the chord diagram or circular layout, you'll be brought to that very recognizable graph. If you were to click on the bar chart, you'll again be brought to the recognizable bar charts. But the major updates that we had were done to the circular layout. Originally, this functioned as if you were to read this paragraph above, you hover over a line and you can see colors jumping in, linking you to different packages with little bits of different information as you see in this tooltip. So you can see what packages depend on a package, on this particular package, and which ones are dependent upon it. One of the major updates that we had made recently was the introduction of this purple color. If you were to look at our color legend here, you will see that we have depends in red, dependents in green, and then both are slated in this purple. One of the things that we had noticed was that there would at times be a red line going to a green name or vice versa. So we could tell that there was some bit of information that we were actually leaving out by not showing the fact that the dependency can run both ways. So now if we were to hover over something like lab service, you can see the variety of reds and greens and even the beginning of purple. Actually, there's a lot of purple, almost equivalent amounts of each of this in this one. And if we were to head to some of the information, we would actually definitely be able to see that's true. If we were to say find women's health with a slightly more manageable amount of depends and dependents, we could show you that radiology and nuclear medicine is both in the dependency graph and in the dependent graph. And if we were to show that here, unfortunately it's covered up by the tooltip, but radiology and nuclear medicine is in fact highlighted in purple. So this is something that we were particularly proud of to show. We think it really highlights a bit more information. We were really leaving something out beforehand. The other significantly less exciting update, but maybe just as useful, is the introduction of a colorblind mode. Using red and green is all well and good for the majority of the population, but there are a certain few that can't. If you click on the colorblind mode toggle, you'll notice that we switched to orange and blue and purple. It's something that's fairly lightweight, but we think that it's a bit more inclusive for people who have that bright green colorblind. It's not really a big update, but we're happy to kind of be accessible as best we can with it. And I believe that's it. I don't think we've made any other changes to the bar chart. The bar chart still does exist. If you were to select these, it'll allow you to sort the information based upon certain things, number of depends and dependents. And then the stats chart here again shows routines. It'll allow you to sort by routines, by their name, by the number of files or the number of file fields, and all of that can be done from within here. We haven't made any updates to this in the past couple of years, so we're going to tell you that it's available, and then we're going to move on. And that brings us actually to the end of the updates that we've had for the current packages. One thing that I am going to talk about right now is actually this VistA menus. When I had generated this slide, the set of slides in this presentation, what I was going to talk about, I was under the assumption that this was made available beforehand, that we had talked about this already, but the description led me to believe that we might not have. So I'm going to just kind of briefly go over it as if this is new for the first time. I apologize if anyone's ever heard of this before, but what this attempts to do is, again, a tree graph, but what this does is actually uses VistA's menu systems and attempts to visualize those. As you can see here from this top level menu, we're currently looking at the Systems Manager menu for a FOIA instance of VistA. And from there, you can see that it has certain submenus, and each of those submenus continues on to eventually certain options. Each of these options is color-coded, as you can see from this upper legend here where the title seems to have disappeared. But each of these describes the type of option that it is, and if you were to click on one of these options, it would highlight only that particular type. So if you were looking for just something that's an edit, you can click on the green, and only the green ones will show up. It'll gray out all of the rest of them. You can click on all types to bring them all back. This also has 2 bits of autocomplete. You can autocomplete the top level menu, so you can see maybe dental or something to be a slightly different method of looking at it. And you can click through each one of these and see the information as it goes through. You can also search for an option if you wanted to. If you knew the name of something, both the long name and the VistA name for it, you can search for it here, click on it, and have the page open up the appropriate menu structure for you to get to that option. So in this case, you could get core applications, integrated billing, patient insurance to process insurance buffer. You'll notice that when I was typing that in, there were 2 options for it. This is because there are 2 paths to get to it. So this was the core menu. If we click on the second one, you'll notice we're going through the Systems Manager menu into the core applications, into integrated billing. So there are multiple entries of it for actually, in this case, different paths, different top-level menus in order to get to it. We'd be happy to show off any of this, again, maybe during the questions. But what we're going to do right now is we're going to jump into the newest bit of information. So these are all things that we're very happy to show for the first time in a lot of cases. And we're going to start off with the last entry in this upper menu bar here with VistA install. One of the things that we've talked about when we were dealing with these updates to ViViaN is what can be the most useful. What would someone who's using ViViaN and using VistA want to see? And in my mind, that jumped into the install file. Obviously, there's a lot dealing with updating a VistA instance, dealing with finding the correct packages, finding the correct order of packages, of patches to install. And this is how VistA keeps itself working. You keep updating, you keep moving on, you keep making it better through these kids installs. And so to do that, we came up with one particular visualization, and that kind of spun into a second one, both of which are now available from this public instance. If you click on VistA install, you'll see 2 options here. The first is an install timeline. The second is an install dependency tree. We're going to get to both in time, but the first thing we're going to deal with is the install timeline. So I apologize about the resolution here. We're going to zoom out a bit. Hopefully everyone can still see pretty well here. So what we have here in front of you is the install timeline for one particular package. And in this case, the package right now is accounts receivable. The dates that it shows are set programmatically. The first date here, which is the earliest time frame, is set by the install date of the first patch. And the second date here is set by the end of the current year. We're off by kind of one day, 12/30 versus 12/31, but it's close enough. One day isn't going to kill us. But what we see now in front of us is a multi-layer view of information. We have a couple of different layers which I'm going to kind of walk down through. We're going to talk about what each one displays and how you should be able to read it. So the first and most obvious one is the timeline, the scale. As you can see, we have dates along the bottom, in this case 2000, 2002, and it's a 2-year skip of timeline. Obviously, as you go from left to right, you get more modern. So from 1996, 1998, 2000, so on and so forth. This will change, which we'll get into in just a little bit, but the next layer in is the install bars. So as we can see, there's a lot of information, a lot of updates here at the beginning, and then it kind of peters out as it becomes a running instance and you don't need to do as much work. There are a couple of different layers even within these bars. The color of the bars is not important. One of the things that you'll notice here is that there are a lot of overlapping bars. We have it running through a color cycle just so you can see it be on top of each other or near each other without hopefully running into them too much. However, the height of the bar is important. The height of the bar is proportional to the number of routines and files that the install brings in. So if we were to hover the mouse over this very tall bar here, you can see that it has a particular name. Oof, very hard, very small. Has a particular name, it was installed on a particular date, and it brought in 10 files and 67 routines. If we were to hover over a smaller one, you'll see that it was a name and a date, but it brought in less information and less information. As we find smaller and smaller bars, you'll eventually see that they bring over less and less things. So you're at the point of bringing in a single routine or a single file and things of that nature. The last layer of information is the background. The background color, you'll notice, changes right about this point. What this attempts to do, and I say attempts with a little correctly, is it attempts to highlight the differences in package version. One of the assumptions that we made was that there will be a patch in the patch stream which doesn't follow the traditional standard of package prefix, asterisk, package version, asterisk, patch number. And we made the assumption that that is the indicative of a package version change. Unfortunately, this one is not true. If we were to hover over this little pink bar here, there is a multi-build which doesn't follow that structure of all of the rest of them, as you'll see, and that causes this background change. But if we were to change to a different package, which I'll show in just a minute, you'll see that we'll be able to actually demarcate where in the install we went from version 2 to version 3, and we went from version 1 to version 2. So how do you interact with this? There are a couple of different ways. Obviously, the first thing we have is the hover. As you hover over a bar, you'll be able to see a tooltip of information that pops up and gives you a brief history of what that patch is. If you click on that bar, it'll open up a separate HTML page with the actual install entry for that package, that particular install package. And so you'll be able to see the data was completed, where it started, the files that it brought over, the build components, the install times, the output of the test of the import, and everything else that you would normally expect when you're looking at an entry within the install file. Moving forward, we can then actually change two sets of things. Both of the things that we talked about in the beginning, the package version and the date range, are both changeable. So if we didn't want to look at accounts receivable anymore, but we wanted to look at barcode medication administration again, because that just seems to be my demo package, we can hit enter, and you'll see that the package and the install changes. As you can see, the install scale did change a little bit. We're no longer back in 1996, but we're starting just before 1999, just before 2000, and we go until the end of 2016, as is about to be the same. But you'll notice the packages, the installs obviously change. But this is one particular package that really shows off the capability of this background changing. If you were to hover over these patches here, you'll see that this is PSB 1.0, 1.0, 1.0. And then you find this package here, there's PSB 2.0, and the first patch image install for barcode administration 2.0. And then all of the files in this little orange background are again in version 2.0. This tall bar here, again, moves you from 2 to 3. And then all of the patches ever since then have been barcode medication administration version 3. This is one that highlights it particularly well. Obviously, we know that we've made some assumptions, and it won't necessarily work in all the others, but it does a nice job in certain cases. The final bit of customization that you can do is actually changing the date range. These dates are set originally, but you can change them to be anything you want. Say if you wanted to see maybe the end of 2004, you want to see where this big cluster of patches came in. So we'll go from, you can select it from here, although it's, depending on how far you're going, it can be quite a chore to click through all of these. But we'll go from June 1st, 2003 to June 1st, 2004. Then we can hit update, and you'll see that the patch changes. We've now significantly zoomed in on our particular scale, and you can see that based upon the scale that you can see. We're no longer at a 2-year scale, we're on a month-by-month scale. We have July, August, September, October, and we can see the changes and the patches are spaced significantly better. We can see that this was in November 07, which is about correct. A couple weeks later, you see something was installed on the 21st. So we can show a very much compact set of information. To get back to the original set of information, you can hit reset, and that takes you back to the original day, the original set of information from the very beginning until the end of the current year, as we said earlier. We have a couple of safeguards. If you try and show the information for the same day, we will give you an error saying that you shouldn't show that information. But on the others, we can actually go down to a very, very short amount of time. You can do it in a month, even on a day basis, on a 2-day basis. We won't let you do the same day. But we hope that this will be found useful. Again, this is more of a high-level view of an install. This will be useful for someone who wants to say, okay, show me where these changes have been made, where's the majority of the updates, where have all these things happened. But for a specific developer who's looking to update their VistA instance, we're looking instead to kind of give you an install dependency view. So one of the major things that we see from the hard hats list and from other things is, how do I know what to install if I want to install this? How do I know what to install if this is missing? So from our other tree view, our other install dependency view, we hope to answer that question. So what we have right here is the patch dependency view tree. You'll notice that everything looks about the same. We have the same kind of squares, triangles, they're definitely triangles, that you can click on and open up different information, but you'll notice that these aren't packages, these are actually install entries. And if you were to click on one, that would actually be made true. You can see PSB 68 has this particular install. And what this is a set of patch dependencies, which is generated based on the VistA FOIA patches that OSEHRA maintains. That's why we have a couple of suggestions up here. Our patch infrastructure is good, but we don't have everything. So we gave a couple of suggestions here for you to view, to be able to show off the fact that we do have this patch install information. You can click through it and demonstrate that we know what needs to be installed before one patches. This interaction also is significantly more interactive than the other one. You have the ability to pan and to zoom. And when we get to some of these bigger entries, you will see why we needed those capabilities, specifically zooming out and the ability to pan through others. So what we'll do is this behaves just like the others. You can select a package. In this case, we'll use the integrated billing one. So you autocomplete into a package, and then we also can autocomplete into the install name. So we know that the integrated billing namespace is IB. If we start typing IB, we're given a list of all of the integrated billing patches that OSEHRA is aware of. Now, we do not necessarily have dependency information for all of these, but we will show it to you and we'll just say that it's blank. So what we'll do is we'll show 2.0 star 497. We can click on that patch, and then we're given our particular trees. We'll zoom in a little so that you can see what we have here. So we have IB247, and that depends on these 8 patches, some of which we don't have dependency information for, others that we do. And we can click on the triangle and show that dependency information. We can click on the triangle and show that dependency information. We can click on the triangle and show that dependency information. As we go further and further out, we'll eventually hopefully reach an end, but it's not necessarily going to be right away. And this is where the zooming and panning really does come in handy, because if we had to show all of this at once, it would be very, very small. One of the things that you'll notice is as we were hovering over packages, it comes up in this red view. Highlighting won't go away from me for some reason. There we go. This red outline comes around patches. When we're hovering over a patch, if it already exists in the display, it will be highlighted in red, just to show that this is does exist somewhere else and will be used somewhere else. And as we were to open up each one of these, you'll see that that's true for all of the ones beyond it. We can keep highlighting where 431 comes up over and over again. As for our tree functionalities up here in the corner. The typical ones do exist, the expand all and collapse all. But we have two additional ones here for resetting and center. This is to deal with the panning capability. If you were to pan through an instance and somehow lose it off the top of the screen, that's when you would use one of these two buttons. Center will bring the tree back without touching the orientation of the unfurling of the nodes. If you were to lose it and hit reset, it would come back and it would actually reset to the original structure that you gave it. So when you open up the autocomplete, that's when this will open up its particular way. And this will work for almost any, I say almost, patch that you have. Now, we do have a very specific subset of information which is different from this. Multi-build patches are separate from this, and we designate that by actually having a different way to open up and select the multi-builds. This information, as you'll see, is no longer an install name since there wasn't one install name, but we instead do it based upon the kids file name of the install. And you can select these just like any other. We'll show you some of the bigger ones here. So it opens up and it allows you to see the Mocha Fast Track builds and the patch install name that comes along with it. But in addition to it, you can see the other two, all that came along with that multi-build. And if we were to start expanding these out, you would be able to see that there is a lot of information for each one of those. We do make that be different thanks to the pull-down menu instead of an autocomplete, just so you don't have to go searching for what the name was. You can look in here and see exactly that. And I believe that really describes it. We've had some talk about updates to this, which we might be able to get into in questions if we ever get to that point, when we get to that point. But then this is I think the extent of these VistA installs. I think that this will become particularly useful when you're trying to update an instance. You can search out what you need to install and be able to see what that patch needs and what that patch needs within reason. So we're hoping that will become very useful and very helpful to the community. The last thing we're going to talk about now is kind of some back-end information updates. As we talked about, we do have the latest up-to-date package information and some dependency information. One of the things that you'll see in our main instance, if we were to search for the order entry results reporting package, within our interfaces, we have, actually not that one, sorry. I'm going to get to that one eventually for Jason, but it's the radiology nuclear medicine. We now have the ability to show off the HLO interface for our package. So you can see the call and response types for HLO medicine. We do have the HL7, which I believe we had talked about before. And then, actually, still within radiology nuclear medicine, we can talk about the ICR information. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Jason. Sorry about taking up most of the time, but Jason, I don't know if you want to share your screen separately or if you want to just tell me where to click, which would be
easier. I can share. Let me share my screen then.
Okay, then I'll turn it over to you. Actually, Nina, can you make him a panelist?
Yes, I can. Just 1 second.
Thank you. Okay, Jason, you should be all set.
Unfortunately, I don't see option to share my screen. View my screen. I don't think I actually.
Just read it out. Nina's working on that.
Okay, sure.
No.
Oh, yeah, I got it.
Yeah, yeah.
Can you guys see my screen now?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, great. Basically, I'm just going to do a quick introduction on the work we did for the VA ICR. The ICR database is basically a VA every quarterly. VA will actually release ICR text file. The text file will actually look like this. It's basically document all the interface control and how you should be able to call one routine from the other package, and also how can you actually access FileMan files with either the FileMan API or the direct FileMan calls. So the text file is actually available actually quarterly, has been there for a while. So the work we did is actually try to convert the text-based file to a JSON, actually machine-readable format. As you can see, the text file is actually not, it's not really actually user-friendly. So what we did is actually we go to write a parser based on this text file. Oh, okay. I don't know what's going on with this file. Can you guys see my screen?
You have something blocked.
Yeah, I think this one probably doesn't work. Let me try one more time. Okay. That doesn't work. So basically, we just actually pass the text file and convert to a JSON format. So the JSON format looks like this. Yeah, it's basically the same entry as the text file, but it's actually structured based on the VA ICR schema. Basically, what we did is actually do a reverse engineer and generate the file schema based on the text file and pass around. So with that, we should be able to actually go to the ViViaN site and see if we actually click one of the packages, and you will see this ICR interface. Based on this ICR interface, you can see all the, in this case, it's actually the lab service package. You can see all the ICR associated with this package, either actually by the routines or by the remote procedure or by the files. And you can actually click on the DBI 59. You can see all the entries and associated with this one. And you can also, I think this one was updated to the latest one. So if you go to, you should be able to see health. Yeah, you can see, there's actually two ICRs associated with the Enterprise Management Platform, the EHMP. So that's the package associated with for the EHMP. It's actually quite actually nicely with the ICR here. So it's the routine documentation. So basically, if you click on those, you should be able to see the two triggers actually when they actually call these routines. Yeah, you can also see the details. So basically, based on this, you can also do the search. If you actually go to the all ICR list and remove that, you can either search by routine. You can see HMP event. Yeah, you can actually, or you see the file number. You can see almost all the ICRs associated with the file number 60. Or it would be nice if we can actually filter out based on the column. Yeah, but that's actually something we actually have that in mind. You will probably in the future release. So basically, that's it. So I will hand back to Joe and see if we have any questions associated with this.
If you can just pass me the presenter privileges again. We're going to do the questions at the end, so we only have a little bit left to go before we'll get to the questions. And we will get right there. Okay, thank you. So as we had mentioned earlier, we're down to the last little bit of information that we've had, and that is dealing with the external visualizations that we have. So this is more the internal to ViViaN, this side of the page here. looking over to the side here, we have a couple of different links, one about the information, one which takes you to the Visualization Open Source Project group page on OSEHRA. But then we have two bits of kind of external visualizations here on this very end. The first thing we have is DSS VistA. So what this is actually an instance of ViViaN which has been specifically tailored to VistA. And in this case, it's been updated to the latest release of VistA called 15.0. You'll notice that there are a couple of things different. The package dependency only has the chord diagram, and the install only has the timeline. We've had a couple of different instances of this where we're still working with them on parsing their patches to be able to generate the dependency information, and I don't have a good excuse as to why we didn't put in the bar diagram. But this is just a slightly different way to look at another VistA instance's information. You can see that, a lot of this does look the same, but right about a particular point, right in mid-2009, they stopped installing VA packages, but then there's a big uptick at a certain point later on, and even again later on, you can see a massive amount of patches done at the beginning of this year. So it's very specific. What we like about this is how specific it can be to an installation. You can make this be VistA's ViViaN instance or WorldVista's ViViaN instance. And again, another moment of self-promotion. We are going to be giving a talk about that next week on the 24th about how to take your VistA instance, so from Cache or from GTM, and actually generate all the information you need for ViViaN. So that'll be next week. There was time about talking about doing that here, but we unfortunately just didn't have the time to work it all in. But this is one particular instance we have of an external visualization. The other two are also here. Where did it go? Oh, we're still in VistA. Sorry. The final two that we have their own menu system here for VA visualizations. And in this case, there are two sets of information, two sets of pages based on the rational information model, one dealing with business information and the other dealing with a hybrid information. They're very kind of generic names right now, but if you were to click on each one, it'll take you to a page which kind of talks about what this attempts to show. And what you'll find within this information is that these hybrid information models are sequestered into a package where it exists. So if we were to click on this particular bit of information, you can see the hybrid information model for lab service. It talks about the information model, when it was created, and then has completed other visualizations. So if we were to look at one of these, you would be able to go into a VistA instance and see connections between files. So file 63 connects to 63.00014, which uses this code system role list. And we can see different connections all based out of one particular entry. So 63.1 uses this, which talks to these other files and other bits of confirmation and even what fields within it that it uses. This is a hybrid information model. We think that it's going to be a bit more useful, especially when you're trying to get down to the nitty-gritty of how does a file talk to other files and where does it expect information to be read from. There are a wide amount of these. If we were to head to the top overview, you would be able to see all of the different ones that are available here. So the red ones are obviously not available yet, but the green means you're able to select it for a wide variety of different packages, all which can eventually show that file-to-file interaction. The business information model is more of the same style of graph of information, but we don't have any package-specific connections into it. We do make it available for you to come through and read if you were to head to kind of some of these more specific things. Say we'll look at allergies within the business information module. You can see conceptual information, area diagrams, and other bits of things which will hopefully be able to see at a higher level of where this information is used and how they interact with each other. And with that, we have come to the end of the presentation. This is all we were hoping, well, this isn't all we can talk about, but this is what we were going to talk about today. So I'd be happy to start answering questions. Jason and I are both here. I know there's probably been some on the list, so Nina, do we open the floor, or do you leave questions to us?
So so anyone who wants to ask questions, please type it into your chat window, and then we'll be able to read them off to the presenter.
And we're happy to answer questions about the new stuff, the old stuff, whatever you want to see more of. We're happy to share as best we can.
Maybe we should just open up Jack. Could you make Jack unmute Jack?
Okay. We're going to unmute you, Jack, Mr. Taylor.
Because you have some question. I'm not sure what the VBA is.
Oh, he's not on the computer.
Oh, okay.
We can't.
Oh, no. Okay, Jack has this question, which I'm not sure. If one wants to track the relationship to VBA exchanges, can someone show that off? And I'm not sure what he meant by VBA. Oh, he's talking about the VA benefits administration. I see.
We don't have any information on that yet, but that doesn't mean we won't be able to do it given the proper way to acquire that information and to display it. One of the good things about controlling this as well as we do is we can really show off whatever people will think is useful. And if that will be proven useful for other people, we'd be happy to do it.
That's it. That's it.
Okay, that's it.
And then we have questions here.
Okay. Is there a way to visualize the global? More importantly, finding what is a required field without having to go through FileMan.
So that seems to be more of a docs page question. We have a set of HTML pages called a visual cross-reference docs. And if we were to head to this page, this is dealt with information that's generated out of Xindex. If we head to our global index list, this might be able to show what you're talking about. So let's just grab one at random and hope that we find some required fields. Essentially what this does is this prevents you from having to go into FileMan yourself. But we'll show off the fields that it has. As for required, I feel like that's the case, but I don't know of one off the top of my head. So this might be more of interest to you, maybe not specifically ViViaN, but the docs pages that it links to, where you can see the globals and potentially see if something is necessary.
And then again here.
But we do show cross-references and other bits of information which could be useful to someone. Hope that answers your question.
I guess Zaza Serrano mentioned that it showed all information except it is required.
Okay. Well, then I guess that's an update for our docs page, and we will see what we can do about pulling out that required information. It's a little bit. It's not technically a ViViaN issue, but it's something that connects very closely to it. So we can definitely make that a priority.
So
It's a URL.
Yeah, Keith wrote, just asked, is there a URL to the new version of ViViaN? Actually, if you go to our website, the homepage, OSEHRA.org, on the right-hand panel, you will see a ViViaN button. If you click on that, that will get you to the current version of ViViaN that's been demonstrated. So are acronym or synonyms supported in search, for example, EHMP?
Not at this point. It's the whole package name. If you were to do EHM, it's very basic string matching, so they're not supported right now.
But then I guess the thing is that the EHMP is referenced in the package as HMP, right? As I remember, the package name.
The namespace of the package is HMP, yes.
But you could search for HMP, but not EHMP.
No, you can't search for the package namespace at this point. It'll be shown if we were to find enterprise.
Oh, you have to say health. You have to, yeah, because I see.
It'll be shown. The HMP will be shown, but you can't search for acronyms or.
I see.
At this point, sorry.
Okay. And this Clayton Curtis asked, where can one get more information on the visualization tool platform used?
The tool that we use is d3.js. That's simply d3js.org. This is the tool that we use. You'll notice that a lot of these look very familiar, specifically some of these chord diagrams and other bits of information. This is the library we use. They do a nice job of showing examples if you're interested in building your own, or any of a lot of the varying other types of visualizations that you can use that we don't use at this point. But as you can tell, you can see it on GitHub if you ever are interested in building up your own. But this is the main backend library that we use for everything except the bar charts. The bar charts is done using HighCharts, which I don't have a good link for, but I guess it's just highcharts.com. There we go. Should have guessed. This HighCharts is only used for the bar diagram of the package dependencies. All of the others utilize this D3 library.
All right. Okay, go ahead. And Tammy Womack asked, will a link to this demo session be available to review again later? So this session is being recorded. You should receive an email tomorrow morning indicating where that link will be.
And again, all of this demonstrating was done on a public instance, so you're more than welcome to head to that link either from the main page or from a direct link and explore this all on your own.
Right. Any other questions? Okay. I'll give you a minute, another minute. Yes, when I send out the mail tomorrow morning, you will include the link to the recording plus the slides. The slides contains mostly the background slide information because most of what you have seen today are demos, so you will only be able to see the demo via the recording. It will be an MP4 file, so you'll be able to see that. Well, looks like we don't have any more questions. I want to thank everyone for attending the OSEHRA Innovation Webinar today, and I want to thank Joe and Jason for excellent presentation and demonstration of the ViViaN capability. If you have any further questions, please send us your question to us. At the info.osehra.org, or send it to Joe or Jason directly, and look forward to you to attend the next webinar, which will be on how to do development using EHMP, which is will be occurring again. The OSEHRA Innovation Webinars occurs the third Tuesday every month at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. Again, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.